Have you ever felt like you were trapped in the middle of an emotional hurricane, unable to see clearly, unable to find solid ground beneath your feet? Studies show more than 70% of adults regularly feel overwhelmed by emotions such as anxiety, anger, or stress, which leaves them drained, confused, and exhausted. Maybe you've experienced this yourself, finding emotions taking over when you least expect it, causing you to say something hurtful, lose sleep, or sabotage your own happiness. But what if the solution wasn't about controlling or suppressing your emotions, but something far simpler yet profoundly misunderstood? That misunderstood solution is emotional detachment, but let's clarify something essential right from the start. Emotional detachment is not about becoming cold, numb, or distant, far from it. Imagine yourself as the sky and your emotions as weather passing through, storms, clouds, sunshine, all temporary and always changing. The sky remains clear and untouched no matter how violent the storm. Emotional detachment is exactly like being that sky, observing your emotions without getting lost in them, fully feeling yet never being controlled. But how can you truly achieve this kind of clarity? How can you learn to detach without sacrificing your warmth, your passion, or your ability to connect deeply with life? That's exactly what you're going to discover in this video. We'll explore profound wisdom from Carl Jung, timeless teachings from Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, and the illuminating insights of Alan Watts, all enriched with modern psychological evidence. Each of these remarkable thinkers offers powerful yet practical ways to help you find calm amid emotional chaos. Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you won't just understand emotional detachment. You'll have a clear path to freedom from emotional turmoil, able to face any storm without losing yourself in the rain. Imagine spending half your life building a house carefully constructed from other people's expectations, social approval, your pride, and your fears. It feels strong, safe, comforting, until one day it starts to crumble and you realize you've built something fragile and superficial, dependent entirely on external validation. Carl Jung, one of psychology's most influential figures, believed this house represents the ego, the fragile identity we desperately cling to. His famous words speak volumes. The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. To Jung, emotional detachment wasn't about avoiding or suppressing emotions. It meant gently stepping away from that ego house you've built and observing your emotions and thoughts from a place of deeper awareness, the true self. Picture once again the sky and weather. The sky doesn't deny the storm, it merely watches, allowing it to pass. Similarly, Jung encouraged us to become observers of our emotional reactions, asking important questions instead of instantly reacting. Questions like, what is this anger really teaching me? Or, what deeper insecurity is this anxiety revealing? Jung introduced a powerful concept known as the shadow, the inner part of us where we hide emotions we fear or dislike, aspects of our personalities we push aside because they're uncomfortable. The problem is, the more we reject or deny these parts, the more they control us from within. When someone criticizes you and you react with explosive anger, it's not the criticism itself hurting you, it's your shadow being triggered. But when you learn emotional detachment, you calmly recognize that anger is arising rather than becoming the anger itself. You can then ask yourself, why does this upset me so much? And in that moment of reflection, you start healing. This subtle shift from I am angry to I feel anger arising is profoundly powerful. It takes you out of the storm and puts you back into the clarity of open skies. Jung beautifully explained, we don't really heal anything, we simply let it go. By witnessing your emotions without judgment, you naturally allow them to move through you, gently dissipating like clouds after a storm. This is emotional detachment at its deepest, not denying your feelings, but also not being consumed by them. Consider this carefully. When was the last time you stopped to calmly observe your anger, fear, or sadness rather than immediately reacting? Next time emotions overwhelm you, remember Jung's wisdom. Become the sky, observing but not clinging, fully feeling but not getting lost. Your emotions aren't enemies, they're powerful teachers trying to guide you towards self-understanding and growth. The moment you detach from identifying with them, you reclaim your freedom. You become clearer, calmer, and wiser, finding strength precisely because you've learned how to gently let go. Picture yourself again standing beneath that vast open sky. Dark clouds roll in rapidly, a conflict at work, a painful rejection, harsh criticism from someone you trust. Instantly, you feel anger, anxiety, or distress surging, your emotions tossing you violently like a tiny boat caught in a storm. But what if the storm itself wasn't the real problem? What if the issue was how you reacted to the clouds rather than their presence? This profound realization lies at the very heart of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy with startling relevance today. Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher, famously taught, "We are disturbed not by things themselves, but by the judgments we place on them." To the Stoics, your emotional suffering is less about external events and far more about the way you interpret and respond to them. They encourage a radical shift, detaching your peace from outcomes you can't control, focusing instead solely on your inner responses, which you can. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, echoed this beautifully. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Imagine this scenario. You're running late for an important meeting, stuck in traffic, frustration building with every passing second. A normal reaction, anger, panic, maybe despair. But Marcus Aurelius would remind you to pause and ask yourself clearly, what can I control here? The traffic? No. The meeting's start time? No. But your response? Absolutely. By clearly distinguishing between what you can and cannot control, you immediately gain clarity and reclaim emotional stability. Your mental storm subsides, replaced by a calm, clear resolve to handle the situation without unnecessary stress. The Stoics offer another remarkable technique called negative visualization, briefly imagining losing what you value most, not to depress you, but to deepen gratitude and ease attachment. Imagine, for example, losing your job, your health, or a relationship you're currently struggling with. At first glance, this might seem pessimistic, even frightening, yet practicing it regularly reminds you of life's impermanence. It gently teaches you to appreciate deeply but hold lightly, savoring what you have without anxiety-driven clinging, like clouds that inevitably drift away. The things we hold dear are temporary. The Stoics urge us to cherish these gifts without desperate attachment. But let's clarify something crucial here. Stoicism isn't about numbing your heart or becoming coldly. It's about feeling emotions fully without being driven by them. Seneca described the Stoic ideal as being free from passion, yet full of love, suggesting emotional detachment creates a calm foundation for genuine joy and compassionate action. Instead of being whipped around helplessly by emotional storms, you remain anchored, calmly steering yourself toward clarity and wisdom. To make this even more real, consider a brief but powerful story from Marcus Aurelius himself. As emperor, Marcus was regularly faced with betrayal and harsh criticism, even by those closest to him. Rather than reacting angrily, he gently reminded himself that people's actions were beyond his control, but his response was entirely his own. He chose calm reflection over impulsive anger, forgiveness over revenge, detachment over turmoil. As he wisely observed in his private journals, reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears. So the next time you face your emotional storms, whether at home, work, or anywhere else, remember the Stoics. Ask yourself directly, is this within my control? Recognize clearly what's yours to handle and what to release. Just like the sky, watching weather come and go without becoming the weather itself, your mind too can remain steady and calm, observing but never drowning. When emotions rise, pause deliberately and detach gently, reclaiming your peace and choosing a wiser path forward. We've seen how Carl Jung's introspection and the Stoics' steady discipline help us navigate emotional storms. But now imagine something entirely different, a gentler way of relating to emotions inspired by the wisdom of philosopher Alan Watts and Eastern teachings. Watts once brilliantly said, "To truly have life, to truly enjoy its pleasures, you must at the same time let go of it." This paradox might sound strange at first, but think of your emotions as water held gently in your hands. If you grip tightly, anxious about losing a single drop, the water quickly slips away. But if you softly cup your hands, letting go of the need to cling, the water remains comfortably with you. This profound idea beautifully captures the essence of Eastern emotional detachment, not indifference, but gentle, loving openness. Alan Watts illustrated this vividly through a story about a little girl who loved her bunny deeply but was terrified of losing it. She squeezed her bunny so tightly that she unintentionally harmed it. Her anxious attachment had become destructive, turning love into suffering. Watts used this simple yet powerful tale to highlight an essential truth. Holding too tightly, whether to love, success, emotions, or anything else, inevitably leads to pain. True detachment means caring deeply yet gently, loving fully without desperate anxiety. This concept of gentle non-attachment is perfectly demonstrated in a classic Taoist parable that Watts loved sharing, the story of a Chinese farmer. When his horse ran away, neighbors quickly lamented his bad luck. The farmer calmly replied, "Maybe." Soon after, the horse returned, bringing a herd of wild horses, prompting neighbors to congratulate him on his newfound fortune. Again, the farmer gently said, "Maybe." Days later, his son fell from one of the wild horses and broke his leg. Again, neighbors reacted strongly, this time with sympathy, to which the farmer quietly responded, "Maybe." Finally, when soldiers came to draft young men into a brutal war, the farmer's injured son was exempted, prompting neighbors to rejoice once more. Still, the farmer merely replied, "Maybe." This powerful fable teaches a profound lesson. Events themselves aren't inherently good or bad. It's our attachment to immediate outcomes, our judgments and reactions, that cause emotional turmoil. By gently stepping back and detaching from our impulse to label things as good or bad, we find peace even amidst life's inevitable ups and downs. Eastern traditions further illustrate this gentle form of detachment through mindfulness meditation, a practice increasingly validated by modern psychology. Harvard studies have demonstrated that just 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation significantly reduces emotional reactivity, anxiety, and stress. The practice itself is beautifully simple. Sit quietly, observe your emotions and thoughts arising without judgment or resistance, and gently allow them to pass, like clouds drifting across an open sky. Over time, this subtle yet powerful technique teaches you to feel emotions deeply without becoming trapped by them, fully experiencing life without the heavy burden of attachment. Watts also reminded us playfully that man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. What he meant is this: life, with all its complexity and emotional intensity, can be enjoyed profoundly yet lightly. The art of detachment is simply holding life gently in your open hands, loving deeply without desperate clinging, participating fully without frantic anxiety. So the next time you find yourself caught in emotional turbulence, gently remind yourself of this wisdom. Observe your feelings compassionately, but without gripping tightly. Like the sky that watches storms come and go, you too can hold your emotions softly, allowing each moment to pass with grace. Embrace life lightly, fully present yet gently detached, experiencing freedom precisely because you've mastered the art of letting go. We've explored powerful philosophies, Carl Jung's inward reflection, the Stoic's steady calm, and Alan Watts's gentle wisdom. But how do you truly apply emotional detachment right here today, amidst your busy, complicated life? Let's bring these insights into your everyday experiences, anchored by the central metaphor we've used throughout: emotions as weather passing through your clear, expansive sky. Before we go further, let's be very clear. Healthy emotional detachment is not numbing yourself or avoiding genuine feeling. Rather, modern psychology has shown it to be one of the most effective tools for emotional resilience and mental clarity. For instance, research from Harvard Medical School reveals that individuals who practice mindful emotional distancing experience significantly reduced stress, anxiety, and depression. This isn't about avoiding emotions, but about gently observing them, just like watching clouds drift overhead without being swept away by their intensity. Consider a common scenario. Perhaps you've faced it yourself recently. A close friend or family member is going through difficult emotional turmoil. Your heart naturally reaches out, compassion flooding your chest, but soon their pain, anger, or frustration begins to consume your own emotional well-being, leaving you drained and overwhelmed. How can emotional detachment help here? Psychologists call this compassionate detachment, maintaining genuine empathy and love while not internalizing another person's emotional chaos. It's standing calmly beside someone's storm without allowing it to become your own. When you practice compassionate detachment, you care deeply but wisely, holding their emotions gently like water cupped in your hands. instead of anxiously trying to fix or change them. Next time you're in a stressful moment, perhaps criticized harshly by a coworker, stuck in traffic, or worried about finances, try this quick exercise. Pause for just a moment and take a single deep breath, mentally stepping back and asking yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? Your initial narrative might say, I can't handle this, or I'm trapped, or even everything is falling apart. Notice that these are just interpretations, not absolute truths. By gently questioning your own narrative, you immediately create emotional breathing space. You're no longer swallowed by panic. You become the clear, open sky again, watching stressful clouds drift past instead of drowning in them. Another practical approach, highly endorsed by modern therapists, is the brain dump. At the end of a challenging day, find a quiet moment and write down every thought and emotion swirling in your mind, uncensored. Psychology reveals that externalizing your thoughts and emotions literally moves them from your internal storm to an external vantage point. You instantly become the observer, not the victim of your feelings. By seeing them written clearly, you reclaim power, releasing their intense grip on you. Afterward, calmly review what you've written and ask, what here is actually within my control? You'll likely find most worries dissolve once they leave your head, and what's left is clearly actionable rather than overwhelming. Now let's return to a Stoic-inspired method you can practice right now. Visualize clearly a situation that worries you deeply, maybe a relationship conflict or fear about your future. Imagine drawing two clear columns. In one, put what's genuinely within your control, your choices, your reactions, your attitudes. In the other, place what's beyond your control, other people's opinions, unpredictable events, outcomes of efforts already made. Now consciously choose to focus your attention solely on the first column. This exercise quickly clarifies reality, instantly easing anxiety, and empowers your emotional steadiness. Your mind becomes calm because you stop fighting storms that aren't yours to control. Lastly, mindfulness meditation, so strongly supported by both ancient Eastern wisdom and modern psychology, is remarkably simple, yet powerful. Even 5 minutes of quietly sitting, observing your emotions arising without judgment, trains your mind for real emotional resilience. Over time, mindfulness enables you to fully experience life's richness without becoming emotionally hijacked by it. You'll feel anger, sadness, joy, anxiety, but you'll never lose yourself inside them. You'll always remain the clear, observing sky, gently watching emotional weather patterns pass without resistance. Ultimately, applying emotional detachment means consciously choosing how deeply you'll allow life's inevitable storms to affect you. Not by hiding from emotion, but by fully seeing it, feeling it, and then gently letting it pass through. Embrace these practical methods daily, and you'll soon find yourself calmer, stronger, and wiser. No longer a victim of life's emotional storms, but a calm observer mastering the gentle art of letting go. As we've journeyed together, you've learned profound truths. Emotional detachment is not about escaping life, feeling less, or isolating yourself. Instead, it's about becoming the spacious sky, calm, clear, and open, observing life's emotional storms without drowning in them. Carl Jung guided us inward, illuminating our shadow emotions as valuable teachers. The Stoics taught us how clarity about control transforms emotional chaos into wisdom. Alan Watts invited us to embrace life gently, fully, yet lightly, holding it softly, like cupped water. Modern psychology has validated each of these insights, giving you practical tools to reclaim emotional freedom. Imagine your life now clearly with this gentle detachment fully integrated. Anxiety no longer consumes your days. Anger no longer dictates your reactions. Fear no longer cripples your decisions. You're able to experience life's richness deeply without frantic attachment. Feel emotions fully without losing your clarity, and connect authentically with others without sacrificing your inner peace. Emotional storms still arrive, they always will, but now you're prepared. You become calm and composed, not by resisting storms, but by peacefully letting them pass through you. Remember clearly Marcus Aurelius' wisdom. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Recall Alan Watts' playful advice. Life ceases to be serious when you realize it is meant to be playful. Both remind you vividly, life is beautifully impermanent, full of shifting weather. You won't ever stop the rain entirely, but you never again need to become lost in it. With emotional detachment, you're the observer, the wise captain steering your own ship calmly through each wave, feeling life's beauty and power without being overwhelmed. Here's what I'd love you to do next. Tonight, before you go to sleep, take just a few quiet minutes. Reflect gently on an emotional struggle you're facing. Ask yourself compassionately, what would happen if I gently let go? Maybe even write your thoughts down briefly, externalizing your emotions and observing them clearly. This simple yet powerful exercise starts immediately applying everything you've learned, training your mind to hold life softly. Do this often, and your ability to detach wisely and compassionately will rapidly strengthen. Ultimately, emotional detachment offers a profound gift, freedom from emotional slavery and anxiety-driven attachment. It allows you to engage deeply yet gently, fully present but peacefully observant. It teaches you clearly that happiness isn't about controlling emotions but gracefully letting them pass. Each day, remember, you're the clear sky, spacious and steady, gently watching storms and sunshine equally come and go. Embrace life lightly, hold emotions softly, love deeply without desperation, and experience each moment fully without anxiety. Remember this clearly as you move forward. Real emotional detachment isn't emptiness, it's the space to be fully alive.